Martha's little shop stood on the corner of Maple Street. Its windows were always clean, the shelves neatly arranged, and the bell above the door jingled with a soft, welcoming sound. Martha had owned the shop for many years, and she took pride in every detail. She liked order, quiet, and customers who respected her rules. One bright afternoon, the sun spilled golden light across the street. Birds chirped, and a gentle breeze rustled the leaves. Martha was arranging jars of jam on the highest shelf when she noticed a small shadow approaching the door. It was a little girl, no more than 7 or 8 years old. Her name was Nia. Nia's eyes sparkled with curiosity as she peered into the shop. She had walked past many times, watching Martha carefully arrange her shelves and polish the counters. Today, she had finally gathered the courage to step inside. She loved colors, shiny things, and small treasures, and Martha's shop had all of that. The bell jingled softly as Nia pushed the door open. Her small hands gripped the handle tightly, and she stepped inside slowly, looking around in wonder. She smiled politely at Martha. "Hello," Nia said in a soft voice. Martha glanced up from her jars. She frowned slightly, her eyes narrowing. There was something about the girl that made her uncomfortable, though she couldn't explain why. "Can I help you?" Martha asked, her tone cool. I just wanted to look around," Nia replied. Her voice was calm, but her hands twisted nervously in front of her. Martha's frown deepened. She liked the shop to be orderly, quiet, and without surprises. A little child wandering among her carefully arranged shelves felt like chaos waiting to happen. She took a small step toward Nia. "I'm sorry, but you can't be in here," Martha said firmly. "This shop isn't a place for children like you." Nia blinked, confused. I just want to look." "I won't touch anything," she said softly. Martha shook her head. "I said no. Please leave." Nia's small shoulders slumped, but she nodded. She turned toward the door, her feet dragging slightly. Her eyes shimmered with unshed tears, but she did not cry. She opened the door, and the bell jingled again as she stepped out into the warm sunlight. Martha returned to her shelves, adjusting a jar of strawberry jam with trembling fingers. She felt a strange mix of relief and satisfaction. The shop was safe again, quiet again. But beneath that, a tiny seed of unease had taken root, though she did not notice it yet. Outside, Nia walked slowly down the street. Her mother had told her that not everyone was kind, and today she had learned that lesson firsthand. Her small hands were clenched into fists, but her heart remained brave. She did not cry. She had learned to hold her head high, even when the world felt unfair. As Nia reached the end of the street, she stopped and looked back at the little shop. Her eyes lingered on the door, the neat windows, the jars on the shelves. A part of her wished Martha had smiled instead of frowning. A part of her wanted to show that kindness could change even the hardest hearts. But for now, she turned and walked home, quietly carrying the hurt in her chest. Meanwhile, inside the shop, Martha continued her work. She did not see the small, sorrowful figure disappear down the street. She did not know that Nia's brief visit had left a mark not on her shelves, but on her conscience. Martha believed the day had passed quietly, and she returned to arranging her jars as if nothing had happened. That evening, the town streets emptied, and the golden sunlight faded into orange and pink. Martha closed the shop, locking the door carefully. She stood for a moment, looking out at the quiet street. Everything seemed normal. Everything seemed as it always had been. But the small incident with Nia lingered in the air, though Martha did not notice it. In the coming days, the little girl would become a presence that Martha could not ignore, though she had no idea how. Life has a way of surprising people, sometimes in the most unexpected ways. For Nia, the day had been difficult. She told her mother what had happened, her small voice trembling slightly. Her mother held her close and reminded her that courage and kindness mattered more than a single person's harsh words. Nia listened, and deep inside, she made a silent promise: one day, she would show that kindness could reach even the hardest heart. And so, the day ended quietly, but the story had only just begun. A small act of unkindness had planted a seed that would grow, slowly, patiently, and inevitably. Neither Martha nor Nia knew it yet, but the little girl who had been sent away would one day return, not to cause trouble, but to change everything. The next morning, Martha opened her shop as usual. The sun was bright, and the streets of the small town were already alive with people going about their daily routines. Birds chirped in the trees outside, and the scent of fresh bread from the bakery nearby drifted through the air. Martha took a deep breath, hoping for a quiet, ordinary day. But as the morning passed, she noticed something unusual. Fewer people were coming through her door. Regular customers, who always greeted her warmly, seemed hesitant. Some glanced at the shop and then quickly walked past. Martha frowned, feeling a slight worry in her chest. "I don't understand," she muttered to herself as she adjusted the jars of jam on the top shelf. "Why is it so quiet today?" By mid-morning, Martha's concern grew. The shop was almost empty. The bell above the door did not jingle as often as it usually did. Even the children who sometimes came to peek at the candies and small toys stayed away. Martha tried to focus on arranging shelves and polishing counters, but the unusual quiet made her uneasy. Meanwhile, Nia walked down a different street, holding her mother's hand. She still thought about the incident in Martha's shop. Her small chest felt heavy with a mixture of sadness and determination. "Mama," she said softly, "why did she not want me in her shop?" Her mother squeezed her hand gently. "Some people are not kind to everyone, Nia. It is not your fault. Sometimes, people fear what they do not understand." Nia nodded, absorbing her mother's words. She did not fully understand them yet, but she felt a quiet fire of determination. She wanted to show the world and Martha that kindness could be stronger than fear or judgment. Back at the shop, Martha noticed another strange thing. A few neighbors whispered as they passed by the windows. They seemed to look at her shop with hesitation, as if deciding whether to enter. Martha felt a small knot of worry growing in her stomach. She could not understand why people seemed distant today. By noon, she saw a familiar face in the street. Mr. Ellis, a regular customer, walked past without stopping. Normally, he would come in to buy fresh bread or small treats. Today, he only gave her a quick nod and moved on. Martha frowned, her hands trembling slightly as she straightened a jar of honey. "Why is everyone avoiding my shop?" she wondered aloud. As the day went on, more neighbors passed by without entering. Some children ran past, pointing at the shop, whispering to each other. Martha overheard snippets of conversation. "She's not nice to children," one child said. Another whispered, "That little girl was treated badly yesterday." Martha froze. The words sank deep into her chest. For the first time, she realized that the incident with Nia might be affecting how people saw her. The pride she had felt yesterday, in keeping her shop orderly, now felt heavy and uncomfortable. By evening, Martha closed the shop earlier than usual. She leaned against the door, her arms crossed, and stared at the street. She felt a strange mix of frustration, confusion, and a growing sense of guilt. Her orderly shop, her quiet routine, her little kingdom of jars and shelves, it was no longer the same. Meanwhile, Nia and her family sat together at their small kitchen table. Nia's mother served warm bread and soup. Nia quietly thought about Martha and the shop. She wondered if Martha would ever understand that her words and actions mattered, even to a little girl. "I want to help her," Nia said softly, looking at her mother. Her mother raised her eyebrows in surprise. "Help her? After what she said yesterday?" "Yes," Nia replied, her small hands resting on the table. She does not know better. Maybe I can show her that being kind is better. Her mother smiled gently. You have a brave heart, Nia. But remember, it must be your choice. You cannot force someone to change. Nia nodded, determination growing in her eyes. She would find a way. She did not know how yet, but she knew that kindness was stronger than anger or sadness. And somehow, she would make Martha see that. That evening, as the sun dipped behind the houses and painted the sky in shades of orange and pink, Martha sat alone in her shop. She replayed the scene in her mind, Nia standing there, small and hopeful, and Martha sending her away. She felt a knot of regret twist in her chest. She had acted too quickly, too harshly, without thinking of the child's feelings. But as much as she regretted it, she did not know how to fix it. She wondered if she could ever regain the trust of the neighbors, the children, and most of all, the little girl whose presence had caused such a stir. And somewhere in the town, Nia looked at Martha's shop one last time before heading home. She did not harbor anger. Instead, she felt a quiet hope. One day, she would return. One day, she would show Martha that even a small child could make a difference and that kindness could touch even the hardest hearts. The day ended quietly, but the ripples of yesterday's actions were already spreading. Martha's pride, Nia's courage, and the small lessons of kindness were beginning to intertwine in ways neither of them yet understood. The story had only just begun. A few days after the quiet morning, dark clouds began gathering over the small town. By late afternoon, the sky had turned a deep, threatening gray. Wind whipped through the streets, bending the trees and rattling the windows of houses. Martha glanced up from her shop, frowning as the first drops of rain began to fall. She hurried to secure the doors and windows. The weather reports had warned of a storm, but Martha had been busy arranging her shelves and cleaning jars, and now the storm arrived faster than she expected. Within minutes, heavy rain poured down, and the streets began to flood in small streams of water. Martha moved quickly to protect her goods. She grabbed boxes from the lower shelves and stacked them on higher counters. She tried to carry heavier crates to the back of the shop, but the rain outside made the door slippery, and water seeped in faster than she could handle. The shop, her little kingdom of order, was in danger. Outside, people ran for cover, holding umbrellas and bags over their heads. Most shops had closed early to escape the storm. But one small figure did not run, Nia. She was walking carefully along the street with her bright yellow raincoat and small umbrella. She had been on her way home from a friend's house when she saw Martha struggling in the shop. Nia paused at the edge of the sidewalk and looked at the shop. Water was creeping in under the door, and boxes of goods were beginning to float. Without thinking, she opened her umbrella wider and walked toward the shop. Her small feet splashed through the puddles, but she did not hesitate. She had promised herself she would help if she could, and this was the moment. "Hello," she called softly, pushing the door open despite the rain. The bell jingled faintly. Martha jumped in surprise, looking up from a nearly toppled stack of jars. She blinked at the little girl standing in the doorway. "What are you doing here?" "It's raining," she said, frowning but also startled. "I saw you struggling," Nia said calmly, "and I thought, maybe I can help." Martha hesitated. She had wanted nothing to do with the girl before, but now, with water rushing in and boxes falling, she did not have much choice. "All right," she said reluctantly, "but be careful. This is heavy." Nia nodded and stepped inside. Together, they moved boxes, lifted fragile jars, and stacked items on higher shelves. Martha noticed how careful Nia was. She moved with purpose, never tipping a jar, never slipping, and always watching out for Martha as well. The little girl's small hands were strong and steady, and her calm voice kept giving simple instructions: "Put that there, hold it steady, watch the floor, it's slippery." Martha could not help but feel a small change in her heart. She had judged Nia too quickly before. This child, so small and gentle, was working harder than many adults she knew. Martha realized that courage and kindness did not always come with age or size. Outside, the storm raged on. Rain lashed against the windows, wind rattled the shop door, and the street outside was quickly filling with water. But inside, the shop felt alive with motion. Martha and Nia worked side by side, and slowly, they managed to save most of the goods. By the time the rain began to ease, both were soaked, but they had done it. The shop was safe, the boxes were stacked securely, and the damage was minimal. Martha stood for a moment, catching her breath, and looked at the little girl. "Thank you," she said quietly. I I don't know what I would have done without you." Nia smiled shyly. "I just wanted to help." Martha felt a strange warmth in her chest. It was the first time she had seen Nia not as a problem, but as someone who could make a difference. The girl's courage, her calmness in the storm, and her kindness had changed the mood of the shop entirely. After drying themselves with old towels, they looked outside. The storm was passing, and the sun was starting to peek through the gray clouds. Puddles reflected the golden light, and birds began to chirp again. Martha felt a quiet sense of gratitude she could not put into words. I should have been kinder to you before," Martha said softly, avoiding Nia's eyes for a moment. "I was wrong." Nia shook her head. "It's okay. I just wanted to help. That's all." For the first time, Martha realized that kindness could reach her heart, even from someone she had judged unfairly. And Nia, small and brave, had not only helped save the shop, but had also begun to change Martha herself. As evening settled over the town, Martha closed the shop doors and looked at the little girl standing outside, dripping wet but smiling. "Would you like some warm tea before you go home?" Martha asked. Nia nodded, her eyes bright. Together, they sat in the small shop, sipping tea and drying off. The storm outside had left a quiet calm, and for the first time in days, the shop felt peaceful. Martha began to understand something important: the world was bigger than her fears, and sometimes, help came from the most unexpected places. That night, as Nia walked home, her heart felt light. She had kept her promise to show that kindness could make a difference. And Martha, for the first time, thought about the little girl not as a stranger, but as someone special, someone who had changed her day, her heart, and perhaps, her life. The storm had passed, but the ripple of change had only begun. The day after the storm, the streets of the town were wet but calm. Puddles reflected the morning sunlight, and birds sang as if nothing had happened. Martha unlocked the shop and stepped inside. The storm had left her shop mostly safe, but some of the lower shelves were damp, and a few boxes had shifted out of place. She began tidying up, moving wet boxes to the back and arranging jars that had slid on the counters. As she worked, she thought about Nia. The little girl had shown courage yesterday, helping without complaint, and Martha could not stop thinking about her small hands carefully moving boxes and keeping the shop safe. Just as Martha reached for a fallen jar of honey, the bell above the door jingled. She turned, expecting a regular customer, but her heart skipped a little when she saw Nia standing there. Her yellow raincoat was replaced by a simple dress, and her small face was bright with determination. "Good morning," Nia said softly. Martha hesitated, unsure how to respond. "Good morning," she said slowly. You don't have to be here. I mean, I appreciate your help yesterday," but Nia held up her small hands. "I want to help again. The shop is still messy. I can carry boxes, sweep the floor, anything you need." Martha paused. Pride had always been a part of her, but yesterday had shown her how much she needed help. She looked at Nia's determined face and felt her heart soften. Finally, she nodded. "All right," Martha said. "But you must be careful. Some of these boxes are heavy." Nia smiled and stepped inside. Together, they worked quietly. Nia moved boxes from the lower shelves to higher counters, wiped puddles from the floor, and even dusted some of the shelves that Martha had not reached. Martha watched in amazement. The little girl was small, but she was careful, organized, and patient. Every movement seemed thoughtful, and every task was done with care. As they worked, Martha began to talk, almost unconsciously. "You know," she said, "I've had this shop for many years, but I've never seen someone work as carefully as you. Most adults would rush and make a mess. You are different." Nia paused for a moment and smiled shyly. "I like helping," she said. "It feels good to do something useful." Martha felt a small warmth spread through her chest. The words reminded her of something important: help and kindness were more powerful than she had realized. She had treated Nia unfairly before, judging her quickly, but now she could see the little girl's strength and courage. By mid-morning, the shop was nearly in order again. Boxes were stacked neatly, the counters polished, and the floor clean. The sunlight streamed through the windows, and the shop seemed brighter than it had in days. Martha looked around and felt a sense of calm she had not felt before. "You did all this?" she asked, turning to Nia. Nia nodded. "We did it together," she said. Martha smiled softly. "Yes, together," she agreed. For a while, they worked in silence, enjoying the small rhythm of cleaning and organizing. The shop, once just a place of business, now felt like a space of connection and teamwork. Martha began to notice the little things: the way Nia's hair fell over her forehead, the careful way she handled fragile jars, and the quiet determination in her eyes. As the morning passed, a few customers came in. They were surprised to see Nia helping, and Martha noticed that people seemed more comfortable, even smiling as they walked through the door. The warmth and kindness in the shop had changed its atmosphere. Martha realized that the little girl's presence did more than help with work; it made the shop feel welcoming again. At lunchtime, Martha brought out a small plate of bread and cheese. "You must be hungry," she said, placing it on a table. "You've worked very hard." Nia's eyes lit up. "Thank you," she said, and she sat down to eat, her small hands carefully picking at the food. As they ate, Martha spoke quietly. I should apologize again for how I treated you before. I was wrong. You didn't deserve that." Nia shook her head. "It's okay. I just wanted to help. That's all." Martha smiled, feeling a deep respect for the little girl. She realized that courage and kindness were not measured by size or age. Nia had shown her that actions spoke louder than words, and that even the smallest person could make a big difference. After lunch, they returned to work. The shop was fully organized, and Martha felt lighter than she had in days. She looked at Nia and felt grateful not only for the help with the shop but for the lesson the little girl had taught her. Sometimes, help and kindness came from the most unexpected places, and it was important to accept them with an open heart. By the end of the day, the shop was completely in order, shining with neat shelves and polished counters. Martha locked the door and looked at Nia. "Thank you," she said softly. "I don't know what I would have done without you." Nia smiled. "I'm glad I could help." As the little girl walked home, Martha stood in the doorway, thinking about the events of the past few days. She realized something important: Nia had not only helped her with the shop, but she had begun to change her heart. And Martha knew, deep down, that this was only the beginning. The bond between them was growing, quietly but surely, built on kindness, respect, and shared effort. Martha understood that sometimes, the most unexpected friendships could teach the greatest lessons, and this little girl was about to teach her more than she could imagine. The next morning, Martha woke up with a strange feeling she could not shake. The memory of Nia's small hands moving boxes, her careful steps, and her bright, patient eyes stayed in Martha's mind. She had thought of the little girl as just a child, someone who might cause trouble, but now she understood that Nia had courage and wisdom far beyond her years. Martha walked to her shop, feeling a quiet determination. She wanted today to be different. She wanted to greet the world and Nia differently. The sun shone softly through the clouds, and the streets were peaceful. A gentle breeze carried the smell of fresh bread and flowers from the small gardens that lined the road. As Martha unlocked the door and stepped inside, she noticed the shop's neatness and order. The counters gleamed, the jars were straight, and the boxes were stacked safely. Yet, more than the physical order, Martha realized that her heart had begun to feel something new. She felt humility, gratitude, and a wish to make amends. Soon, Nia appeared at the door, as if she had sensed Martha's thoughts. The little girl's eyes lit up when she saw the shop in order. "Good morning, Martha," she said cheerfully. Martha smiled, a little shyly. "Good morning, Nia. Come in. I I was thinking about yesterday." Nia stepped inside, careful not to touch anything. "I was thinking too," she said softly. "About the shop and about helping." Martha nodded. She felt a lump in her throat. "I realized something important. I treated you unfairly before. I judged you too quickly. And I want to say, I am sorry." Nia's small face brightened, and she shook her head. "It's okay, Martha. I just wanted to help. That's all." But Martha knew it was more than that. Nia had shown her kindness without expecting anything in return. She had worked tirelessly, guided her actions with patience, and never complained. The little girl had taught Martha a lesson she could never have learned on her own. As the day went on, more customers entered the shop. Some of them had heard about Nia helping during the storm. They smiled as they passed the little girl, and Martha noticed a change in how people looked at her shop. It was no longer just tidy and orderly, it was welcoming, warm, and alive. Martha worked alongside Nia again, handing her small tasks and listening to her ideas. Nia suggested ways to organize the shelves so the jars would be safer and easier to reach. Martha followed her advice, realizing how clever and practical the little girl was. She had thought she knew everything about running the shop, but Nia's suggestions made things better. By afternoon, Martha paused and looked at Nia. "Do you know something?" she asked gently. Nia shook her head. "What?" "You've taught me more than I can say. I thought I knew what kindness was, but watching you, I understand it better. I understand courage, patience, and helping without expecting anything back." Nia smiled softly. "I just wanted to help, Martha." "Yes," Martha agreed. "And that is what makes it so special." For a while, they worked quietly, moving boxes and arranging jars. Martha noticed how much she enjoyed the little girl's company. She laughed at Nia's small jokes, listened to her observations about the shop, and felt a warmth she had never felt before. The shop had changed, but more importantly, Martha herself had changed. By evening, the shop was perfect. Martha locked the door and turned to Nia. "Thank you," she said, her voice full of emotion. "I don't just mean for helping with the shop. I mean for helping me see the world differently. You've shown me that kindness and courage can come from anyone, no matter how small." Nia beamed. "I'm happy I could help." Martha felt a tear form in her eye, but she blinked it away. She realized that this little girl, who she had judged too quickly, had become one of the most important people in her life even if she was only 7. Nia had shown her that judging others before understanding them could cause pain, but opening her heart could bring unexpected joy. As Nia walked home that evening, Martha watched from the doorway. She felt a quiet hope for the future. The little girl had changed more than just the shop, she had changed Martha's heart. Martha understood that life was full of lessons, sometimes delivered by the smallest and most unexpected people. That night, Martha lay in bed thinking of Nia. She smiled softly, remembering the little girl's determination, courage, and gentle spirit. Martha knew that she had been wrong, but she also knew that now she had a chance to make things right. And so, the day ended with a sense of peace. Martha had learned the power of kindness, humility, and the courage to change. She had begun to see the world through Nia's eyes, seeing possibility, hope, and the beauty of helping others. The story of the little girl and the shop was far from over. Nia's presence had brought light into Martha's life, and in time, she would continue to show Martha and the world the power of small, brave acts of kindness. Days passed, and the little shop on Maple Street became more than just a place to buy goods. It was alive with a sense of warmth, laughter, and friendship, all sparked by Nia's small but brave presence. Martha noticed it first thing every morning when she unlocked the door. The shop felt lighter, brighter, and more welcoming. Nia arrived promptly each day after school. Sometimes she helped with small tasks, stacking jars, organizing shelves, or sweeping the floor. Other times, she simply kept Martha company, chatting about her day at school, her friends, and little things she noticed in the town. Martha found herself listening carefully, smiling more, and even laughing aloud at Nia's cheerful stories. One afternoon, a heavy box fell from a shelf near the counter. Martha bent to pick it up, straining her back slightly. Before she could react, Nia was at her side, lifting the other end with surprising strength. Together, they moved the box safely to the back. "Thank you," Martha said, wiping her hands on her apron. "You really are strong, you know." Nia giggled. "I just try to help." Martha paused and looked at the little girl. She realized that Nia had not only helped with the shop but also helped her heart grow. She was learning patience, humility, and joy in ways she had never known. The shop had become more than business, it was now a place where kindness lived, and Nia had brought that change. A few neighbors passed by that afternoon. They noticed Nia's presence and smiled. One elderly woman, Mrs. Thompson, stopped to say hello. "It's so nice to see young people helping in the shop," she said. "You two make a wonderful team." Martha felt a proud warmth. "Yes," she said softly. "She helps me more than I ever imagined." Nia beamed, clearly happy to hear Martha's words. As the day went on, Martha found herself talking more openly with Nia. "You know," she said, arranging jars of jam, "I never thought a child could teach me so much. I was proud of my shop and my routines, but I forgot what really matters: kindness, courage, and helping others." Nia looked thoughtful. "Maybe people forget that sometimes," she said. "But if we try, we can make things better." Martha smiled. The little girl's words were simple, yet they carried wisdom beyond her years. She realized that life was full of lessons, and sometimes they came from the smallest people in the most unexpected ways. A few weeks later, Martha decided to make a small change in the shop. She set up a little corner with books and small toys for children who visited. She thought of Nia and how much she had helped, and she wanted other children to feel welcome, too. Nia helped arrange the corner, carefully placing each item so it looked inviting. When the corner was finished, Martha looked around with satisfaction. "You see this," she said. "This is because of you. You've inspired me to do something kind for others." Nia's eyes sparkled. "I'm happy," she said softly. "I like seeing kids smile." Martha realized in that moment that the little girl had done more than help her with the shop. She had helped Martha see the world differently. She had taught her the value of compassion, patience, and humility. Martha had judged Nia unfairly at first, but now she understood that courage and kindness often come from the most unexpected sources. As evening came, the shop quieted. Martha and Nia sat by the window, sipping warm tea. Outside, the sun was setting, casting golden light across the street. Martha looked at Nia, feeling a mix of gratitude and affection. "You know," Martha said softly, "I never expected a little girl to teach me so much. You've changed my life, Nia." Nia smiled shyly. "I just wanted to help," she said again. Martha shook her head. "It's more than that. You've taught me to be better, to see people differently, and to open my heart. That is something I will never forget." Nia's small hand reached across the table and touched Martha's. "I'm happy, Martha. I like helping you." In that quiet moment, a bond formed that neither of them could put into words. It was not just friendship, it was trust, respect, and mutual care. Martha realized that this little girl had become an important part of her life, and she felt a deep sense of hope for the future. The shop had transformed, but more importantly, Martha had transformed. She had learned lessons she would carry for a lifetime, all because of the courage and kindness of one small girl. And Nia, with her gentle spirit and brave heart, had discovered that even small actions could make a big difference in someone's life. As night fell and Nia walked home, Martha watched from the doorway, feeling a quiet peace she had never known. The little girl had changed everything: her shop, her heart, and perhaps even her view of the world. And Martha knew that their journey together was only beginning. The bond between them had grown stronger than either of them could have imagined, built on respect, kindness, and the quiet understanding that even the smallest person can make a world of difference. The morning sun poured through the windows of Martha's shop, casting a warm glow on the neat shelves and polished counters. The shop had changed. It no longer felt like just a place to sell goods, it had become a space of warmth, kindness, and welcome. And the change had a name: Nia. That day, Martha watched as Nia arrived, her small feet skipping happily along the street. She carried a small basket filled with colorful flowers, which she placed carefully in a vase on the counter. "Good morning, Martha," Nia called cheerfully. Martha smiled warmly. "Good morning, Nia. Those flowers are beautiful." "Thank you." Nia grinned. "I thought they would make the shop look happy." Martha nodded, feeling a warmth she could not describe. The little girl's presence had brought life to her shop and joy to her heart. Martha remembered the day she had sent Nia away, and she felt a pang of regret. But she also knew that lessons learned from kindness were the most valuable of all. As the morning passed, customers began to arrive. Children came to the small corner Martha had set up with Nia's help. They played with the toys, read the books, and laughed freely. Adults smiled as they shopped, often stopping to compliment the cheerful atmosphere. Martha noticed that the little gestures she had learned from Nia, the gentle greeting, the careful attention to customers, the small acts of kindness, made a big difference. People lingered longer, smiled more, and returned again and again. The shop had become more than a business. It had become a community, a place where everyone felt welcome. At lunchtime, Martha brought out a small plate of fresh cookies. She handed one to Nia. "You deserve this," she said softly. "You've helped more than you know." Nia took the cookie and smiled. "I'm happy, Martha. I like helping." Martha felt a tear threaten to fall, but she blinked it away. She realized that the little girl had taught her more than just how to run a shop. Nia had taught her humility, patience, and the power of kindness. That afternoon, a group of neighbors came in to visit. They had heard about the little girl who had helped during the storm and about the shop that had become welcoming and cheerful. They complimented Martha and praised Nia for her courage and helpfulness. Martha looked at Nia with pride. "Do you see this?" she said softly. "All of this, it's because of you. You've changed not just my shop, but the whole community." Nia's small face lit up. "Really?" she asked, her eyes wide with wonder. "Yes, really," Martha said. You've shown everyone how much a small person can do. You've changed hearts, Nia, including mine. The little girl beamed, feeling proud and happy. She had never imagined that her simple act of helping could create such a big difference. She realized that even small actions, when done with care and kindness, could ripple outward and touch many lives. As evening approached, Martha and Nia cleaned the shop together. The shelves were straight, the counters polished, and the floor spotless. Martha looked around and smiled. The shop was perfect, but more than that, it felt alive. It was full of joy, laughter, and love, the kind of warmth that could not be bought or sold. Martha turned to Nia. "You know," she said gently, "I've learned something very important. I judged too quickly before. I didn't see your courage, your kindness, or your strength. But now I see it, and I will never forget it." Nia smiled softly. "I'm happy, Martha. I like that you understand." Martha reached out and took Nia's small hand in hers. "You've changed my life, Nia. And I promise to be kinder and more thoughtful from now on. You've shown me the way." Nia squeezed her hand gently. "And you've shown me that people can change too," she said. Martha nodded, feeling a deep sense of peace. She realized that the little girl who had once been turned away had become one of the most important people in her life. Nia had taught her that kindness, patience, and courage could overcome judgment, fear, and pride. As night fell, Martha stood at the doorway, watching the street. The shop glowed warmly behind her, and the soft hum of laughter and conversation floated out into the quiet town. She felt a quiet hope for the future. She knew that with Nia by her side, the shop and her life would continue to grow brighter and happier. Nia waved goodbye as she walked home, her small figure disappearing down the street. Martha watched her go, smiling. She had learned a lesson she would carry forever. Even the smallest person, with courage and kindness, could make a world of difference. The shop had changed, Martha had changed, and the town had changed. And all of it had begun with a little girl who refused to give up, who offered help when it was needed most, and who taught a lesson that would last a lifetime. Martha closed the door, took a deep breath, and whispered softly, "Thank you, Nia." The little girl had turned the day and many days after around, not just for Martha, but for everyone who walked through the doors of the little shop on Maple Street. And from that day forward, kindness, courage, and friendship would always have a home there.